And the catch is made by Taj Washington. Touchdown, USC.
Blocked by Embiid.
Timmy, yes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast here on Pick Swap Media. This is your host, Ryan Coyle, joined as always for our weekly show, NFL Big Five Games of the Week by Kevin Cannon. And we brought in a special guest today for pretty big episode, I would say. We got a pretty big football game coming up on Sunday night. Welcome, Luke, to the show, a recurring guest. A big night for us Eagles fans on Sunday. But even just the NFL fans as a whole, it's a huge night, one of the biggest sports nights on the calendar of the entire year. So huge weekend ahead. Welcome back to the show, fellow zone. How are we?
Great.
I'm doing great as well.
All right. So this will be our Super Bowl preview episode. You know, usually how we go through our top 5 games of the week and whatnot and go in depth on them. Breaking this show up a little bit differently because there's only one game to talk about. We'll be talking about the Eagles' key to victory, the Chiefs' key to victory, and we'll also be going a lot into some betting stuff, player props, some standard bets, some off the wall kind of bets, some unique type stuff, and then giving our eventual game breakdown prediction and taking our MVP in there as well. So just the bare essentials that we need for this game. You have the number 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles representing the NFC versus the number 1 seed Chiefs representing the AFC. First time the 2 Super Bowl teams are the 1 seed since 2017, back when the Eagles beat the Patriots. Eagles enter this game 1.5 point favorites. Over under is 50.5. We got a 6:30 kickoff on Fox. The biggest game of the year, and it's great to see Philadelphia in it against the Eagles and all the storylines that are encompassing in this one. But Luke, what do you think for the Eagles to be able to hoist their second Lombardi trophy in franchise history? What do you think the key to the game will be for them?
Well, it's going to be tough, and I'm nervous about it. But I definitely feel like the weakest point of the Chiefs is definitely their secondary, and that our receivers can definitely take the top off at any given time. If our receivers execute in the middle and the deep middle of the field and get open for Jalen, Sirianni obviously has to call a great game. I feel like he'll be able to open up the playbook more for Jalen and to keep the Chiefs on their heels, especially. Defensively, the Chiefs can't let Mahomes get comfortable at all and get in a rhythm because that's when he's the most dangerous. So Mahomes starts completing passes. He goes 2, 3, 4 in a row. He doesn't stop. And I think we've seen that multiple times. He's proven that over his career. We need to get pressure on him all night long. And I think the way we need to get pressure on him is similar to how Tampa Bay did it back in 2021, I believe, where they just kind of loaded the box here and there, sent a couple extra blitzes on them with the linebackers, kind of, as Sam Darnold once said, seeing ghosts. You got to make them see ghosts, I guess. So I think that's our keys.
Yeah, my keys for the Eagles in this one, kind of going off of what you said about the Chiefs secondary, it's going to be the Eagles wide receivers exploiting the Chiefs cornerbacks. It does sound like L'Jarius Sneed. He got a concussion in that AFC title game against the Bengals, but it sounds like he's cleared concussion protocol and is going to be playing. So that's obviously a big player to have in the secondary that could have potentially missed the game with an injury. But the duo of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith will need to take advantage of these Chiefs corners to win this game. I think the Chiefs have rookie corners in Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie, starting with Watson on the outside and McDuffie in the nickel spot in their secondary. The combination of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, one of the best wide receiver combinations in the entire league and one of the best in Eagles franchise history, combined for the regular season, 183 catches, 2,692 receiving yards, and 18 receiving touchdowns. I do expect Steve Spagnuolo, his pedigree is blitzing and creating havoc. I do expect him to blitz a lot and try to reduce Jalen's time to throw extra bodies at him all day and just make life difficult for him. But when they do that on defense, you are going to get your one-on-one matchups on the outside. And I think that's where the Eagles have to just be able to give Jalen that extra split second and these wide receivers an extra chance to get open against these cornerbacks that are subpar. So they're going to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities. I think they're going to have to take advantage of that, and they're going to have to win these matchups if they're going to want to win this football game and win the Super Bowl.
My key to the Eagles' victory is the Eagles' D-line creating constant pressure Putting pressure on any quarterback is a great way to win games. The Eagles have arguably the best D-line in football with 4 guys in double-digit sacks this year and the third most sacks in a season in NFL history. Son Reddick has been the stud of the group. He's been the best defensive player in football for a couple of weeks now. The Chiefs' offensive line is pretty solid, and Mahomes absolutely destroys defenses when he's blitzed. The key to getting pressure on him is rushing only 4, so then you can drop another man into coverage, and then you have all your bases covered. So hopefully they're able to create pressure with Justin and Ford.
All right, now we'll switch our transition over to the Chiefs now. Luke, why don't you start us off again? What do you think the Chiefs' key to victory in this matchup is going to be?
Yeah, so I feel like the Chiefs just need to expose our weaknesses here. I mean, every team that's been successful in exposing our biggest weakness, running the ball, has been extremely successful this season. The Commanders, for example, was in our second matchup against them. They had 152 yards total rushing on the ground. The Cowboys had like 115 in the second time we played them. The Saints in Week 17, 129 yards on the ground. So there's a common trend here, obviously, with just the rushing yards on the ground. If you can control the ball, you don't let Mahomes or you don't let us get comfortable, obviously, on offense. But if the Chiefs can just control the run game and control the time of possession throughout the game and keep Hurts off the field, it would put the Eagles in a very tough situation. Establishing the run also opens up play actions for like Mahomes. It's just going to make it tough all day long for the Eagles to get pressure on him as well. So,
Kev, you want to piggyback off that one?
Yeah, I had the same thing pretty much. Running the ball effectively for the Chiefs. The weakness of the Eagles' defense is in the run. They were number 1 for most of the year in pass defense, but at times struggled to stop the run. As a lot of Philly fans know, though, Andy Reid hates to run the ball, so that's good news for us, but bad news for us. The Chiefs do have the guys to run the ball well. Isaiah Pacheco has really come on as late, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire was just activated from IR as well, their first-round pick from a couple years ago. The Chiefs will also be able to incorporate bubble screen shuffle passes and screens into their rushing attack, which is another Andy Reid staple. The Chiefs do not run the ball often, but when they do, they are pretty successful at it. And relying on the O-line and rushing attack will help injured Mahomes neutralize the Birds' pass rush here.
My key for the Chiefs to win this one, I think, is just keeping Patrick Mahomes upright and healthy. It's been the biggest story, I think, in the NFL, injury-wise, over these past few weeks. That Patrick Mahomes battling that high ankle sprain, not 100%. Still looked really good against the Bengals in the AFC title game, but that's still a bad injury, and I'm pretty sure that playing in that game didn't really help his causes and make it any healthier. But now he has the chance to, or the privilege to face the best pass rush in the NFL with the Eagles. 70 sacks in the regular season, and they have 8 so far in the postseason as well. So looking at Mahomes, though, and the Chiefs pass blocking, he's been only sacked 29 times this year. To put that into perspective, including the 2 playoff games, he's only the 17th most sacked quarterback in the league, and he's played an extra 2 games than most of the guys in the league. So we're going to be seeing a high-level pass rush against a high-level offensive line. But in each of the Chiefs' 3 losses this year, Mahomes has been sacked at least once. The Chiefs don't want him taking any unnecessary hits and worsening that ankle. I think we're going to see a lot of quick drop-back type passing, which not something that we've really seen from him because we know Patrick Mahomes and his ad-libbing and making plays on the fly is what he's been most successful at. But just limiting the exposure, I think, potentially to getting hit outside the pocket and just keep Patrick Mahomes upright and trying to maybe dink and dunk their way down the field. I think that might be their path to success in this one. So I think keeping him upright, keeping him healthy is the big key for the Chiefs in this game. All right, so now we're going to transition a little bit and go into some betting stuff for all you degenerates out there. Our first one is we're going to be each giving out 3 player props that we like. So I'll start it off with one of mine. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes to have a higher completion percentage than Jalen Hurts. That's at even at -110 there. Both of them come into this at -110. Mahomes completed 67.1% of his passes here. Hurts was pretty close behind at 66.5%, but the Eagles under Jonathan Gannon have been known to sit back and play some really soft zone coverage at times and play off their defenders. I could see Andy Reid, one of the best offensive minds in NFL history, working with I think the best zone coverage player in NFL history in Travis Kelce. He always seems to find just those little holes and those little gaps and just sit in them and then catch the ball and turn upfield and do what he does best with the ball in his hands. I could see the Chiefs just finding a way, at least early and often, to kind of exploit that and dink and dunk the ball down the field. So I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. I have a higher completion percentage in this one than Jalen Hurts. That's one of my player props that I like. Luke, why don't you give us one of yours?
Sure. So I got Marquez Valdez-Scantling over 2.5 receptions at -132. Not great value, but I really like it. Mahomes has had an interesting season, to say the least, of the receiving department. It's basically a completely new group from last season, basically. Scanling is currently their leading wide receiver in the postseason. So if that means anything, he had 7 grabs for 10 targets out of all the receivers. I mean, that's not a lot, but obviously his main target's Kelsey. But he's racked up 122 yards so far in the postseason. I just feel like Mahomes will definitely go his way at least 4 to 5 times, which puts him in a good spot to get.
Kev?
I'm going Pat Mahomes under 292.5 passing yards at -110. Since 2000, there have been 15 starting quarterbacks who've averaged at least 287 passing yards in the regular season. And of those 15, only 2 of them passed for more than 300 in the Super Bowl, those 2 being Tom Brady and Kurt Warner. And the Super Bowls often don't have a ton of passing yards as teams start out a little cautionary, so I'm going Pat Mahomes yards under.
All right. My second one, I'm going to continue to take Patrick Mahomes here. I'm going to take him over 39.5 attempts in this one. That's at -102. He went over this number in 8 games this year with another game where he hit exactly 39. So kind of right around that 50% mark for this one. I don't see Andy Reid relying on the run much in this game. As we did talk about, the Eagles do their kind of weak point of that defense is the rushing game. But as you touched on earlier, Kev, Andy Reid has been known to be a pass-heavy type of play caller. And looking at both of Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowls as well, he's gone over this number, I believe, with 42 and 49 attempts. I just think it's one of those games where, especially if they're not able to get the run game going early, they're just going to say, all right, we know even though you have this bum ankle, you're Patrick Mahomes, we're going to live and die with you. If we're going to win this game, we're going to do it on your shoulders. So I think he's going to go out there slinging the rock, and I could see him going over 40 attempts in this one. Luke?
Yeah, so I'll go okay. So I'll do Devontae Smith over 63.5 receiving. It's at -110, so it's even odds. Smith has been the Eagles' leading receiver this postseason, as well as I said earlier with Marquez Valdez. So Hurts is definitely going to like to go to him as like a security blanket. I think he could also take the top off as well. Smith's known for that. And he also has a record for going off in championship games. So those Alabama fans out there. So I like him to go over this total 63.5. I think he gets it.
Kev?
My second, I'm going Kenneth Gainwell over 19.5 rushing yards. He's at -110. He's been the Eagles' best back in the past month. I think he gets his fair share of carries here and has an opportunity to hit at least 20 yards.
All right, my third and final one, I'm going to take Jerick McKinnon over 22.5 receiving yards at -110. He's done this in 10 games this year. I think we see Andy Reid use a lot of the screen game to try and neutralize the Eagles' pass rush, try and get those pass rushers thinking that they have some free lanes and going to have a free shot at Patrick Mahomes, just to be exploited by Jerick McKinnon in the screen game. I also expect this game to be tight and go down to the wire. So I could see some occasions where Patrick Mahomes is running the 2-minute drill, whether it's at the end of the first half or the end of the second half. And Jerick McKinnon being the guy in the backfield and maybe just catching like a few dump off passes. And this is one of those things where if he is able to get a screen and get some grass in front of him, he could get this all in one catch. So Jerick McKinnon over 22.5, really like that play.
All right, so I'll do my last one here. I think this is my favorite of all the prop picks that I have. Patrick Mahomes under 39.5 pass attempts at -120.
Got a good rivalry on this one.
I know, right? So I think the key to winning this game, like I said earlier, the Chiefs just need to establish a run. And if they establish a run early, I really don't see how Mahomes gets close to 39 or gets close to at least 40 pass attempts. I don't see it, but obviously Andy Reid's, what he's known for is doing like the quick passes, screens, stuff like that, which will definitely favor the total to go over. But if they do establish a run, I don't see how he gets close to 40. So
My third and final, I'm going Devonta Smith over 5.5 receptions at plus 102. I think he can have a similar game as the game Nelson Aguilar had in the Super Bowl 5 years ago. Nelson, that game, went 9 catches for 84 yards. Just a really good possession receiver who can get open on anyone.
Yeah, I like Luke as well with the Devontae play, the over, and Kevin taking the over. I like both of those. I think those are two I'm definitely going to take. I think he's going to kind of step up in this one, and I think they're going to, try and limit AJ and focus more of their attention towards him, free up Devontae a little bit more.
Mhm.
All right, now we'll go into 3 standard bets we like, some touchdown stuff, some over-under, and some other stuff like that. So 3 standard bets we each like. I'll start it off with my first one. I'll go under 50.5 here, minus 110. In the last 20 Super Bowls, it has gone under this number 12 times. I also feel like this game is a game that a lot of people are expecting a shootout with 2 high-flying offenses, and I think 50.5 is not a super low total, but I think 53, 54, I could have seen this game being more so. So I think the books are begging people to take the over in this one, which is why I kind of like the under hitting. And then looking at these 2 teams over their last 8 games, the Eagles' last 8 games, they've gone under this number 6 times, and the Chiefs have gone under this number 4 times. So split it, going half over, half under. But 2 of the times they hit the over, it hit exactly 51. So it only hit by that half a point. So we're a half point away there from both of these teams hitting the under in this one 6 times. So I think 2 high scoring offenses we saw last year with the Bengals and the Rams going into it, and that game finished at 23-20. I could see this one being like a similar score. So under 50.5 there is one of the standard bets I like. Luke?
Yeah, I like that play as well, Coyle. So Eagles minus 1.5. I think this is gonna be my big bet, sadly. But of course, I'll roll with the birds. I was between this 1.5 and money line, but then I decided to do some deeper research, and this is going to come back to bite me. I know it. But if there's anyone out there in that boat that just doesn't know if they're going to pick money line or minus 1.5, in the history of the Super Bowl, it's only happened once that a team's won by 1 point, and it was 1991 Bills versus Giants, 2019 final. And Giants won on a missed Bills game-winning field goal. Just for those out there. Scott Norwood, yep. Pumping the fist. That was the only time it's ever happened, 2019. So if the Eagles win, you're afraid to take the kicker. Just know it's only happened one time.
For mine, I'm going the over in the game. I don't think it's going to be a shootout, but I also don't think it's going to be a super low-scoring game. I think it's just going to be a nice, consistent battle throughout the entire game. The Eagles coming out on top and plenty of touchdowns and plenty of field goals. So I'm taking the over.
All right, my second one, this is a bit of a dart throw here, but I like his chances in this one. Travis Kelce, 2+ touchdowns. You can get that at plus 480. So I really like the kind of the value they have there. The Eagles linebacker play this year has been a dramatic improvement for anything that we've seen since D'Amico Ryans and Michael Kendricks were a duo back when Chip Kelly was the coach in 2013. TJ Edwards and Kaiser White have been very good this year. Like I said, much better than what we've seen over the past decade, but they haven't seen a tight end this year like Kelce. They had a matchup last week against George Kittle, or wherever that was in the conference championship. But as we know, the 49ers had their quarterback issues, so we didn't really get a full scare from him. I think Andy Reid, as I touched on earlier, has seen on tape some of the easy throws on these dink and dunk plays that the Eagles scheme has allowed, and I think he's going to find ways to exploit that. I think Travis Kelce is going to be found early, often, and I could see him finding the end zone twice. He's a guy who, even if he catches it, he's not the fastest looking guy, but he always seems to get a lot of yards after the catch. So Travis Kelce, 2+ touchdowns there. That's one of the standard bets I like, but plus 480, some really nice value on that one, I think. So give me Travis Kelce 2+.
All right, so I'm going to do my second one. Devonta Smith anytime, plus 165. And we got into this a little bit earlier, but the last time Devonta Smith played in a championship game, he had 217 yards, 12 catches, and 3 touchdowns. This is also in college, but if the Eagles are to have success in the red zone, I think they have to expose this Chiefs weak secondary. And I could just see it now, like, if they catch us we catch them in like a cover 2, and we could just expose like the deep middle third of the field. I think Devontae's that guy we'll go to on like a deep post. So I could just see him like having like a big 40-yard catch for a touchdown, but that's just me.
So for mine, I'm not 100% sure on what the number that I'm going to take yet, but I am going to take an alternate spread, Eagles minus probably about 3.5 to 4.5. Right now, 3.5 is at plus 128, 4.5 is plus 146. I think it's going to be a close game, one possession game, but I think building a little bit off of what Luke said, they're going to win by more than 1 point because that doesn't happen often in the Super Bowl. So I would take the Eagles alternate spread.
All right, my last one. I'm going to do first drive result in a field goal attempt. That's a plus 420. These two teams are two of the best offenses in the league, as we touched on, and they do both tend to perform well off the bat. And I think we all know Andy Reid's success coming off a bye week. He had a bye this past week, obviously going into the Super Bowl, gives him an extra chance to see some more stuff on film and script up some more good plays. And Nick Sirianni and the Eagles have been pretty effective off the bye as well under him. I believe they're now 2-1, including the playoffs. So I think two high-level offenses that have had a lot of success all year. I think they're either team is going to be able to move the ball kind of down the field, but I could see both these teams maybe potentially stalling out in the red zone once they get down there if they do have longer drives and those scripted plays kind of go out of the order. So I do see them stalling out potentially and getting down there and kicking a field goal. I remember the Eagles' first drive against the Patriots. They went down and Jake Elliott kicked the field goal. And a touchdown in this one is for the first drive result is plus 260. I think it's much more likely that you see a field goal attempt. It doesn't even have to go in. Just a field goal attempt at plus 420. You get almost double the odds there. I like that play. So give me a first drive result, either team field goal attempt plus 420 as my third standard bet.
So my last bet here, I think it's more like a system play, under 24.5 first half total. And this is kind of goes off what you were saying with the regular under Coyle. I feel like this is just a system play because in the Super Bowl, I feel like everybody's got the nerves going. They all start out slow. I feel like every Super Bowl I watch, like the end of the first quarter, 3-0 for some reason. I'm just like, they always start slow. So I feel like 24.5, you get a pretty big number because the original over is 50.5. So if you take the first half under, 24.5 is pretty generous. So I think that's a pretty good play there.
My third and final one's going to be Kenneth Gainwell, anytime touchdown scorer at plus 360. I think he's going to almost split carries with Miles Sanders in this game. We saw it a little bit in the 49ers game 2 weeks ago. Miles got to rest in the second half, and Kenneth Gainwell performed really well, and he's performed well in the playoffs and towards the end of the regular season. I think he'll get opportunities in the red zone, and he can also break one big at any point.
Yeah, Gainwell's a name I've seen a lot just on like Twitter with a lot of people liking his over 19.5, him scoring just because of that kind of advanced role. And people are comparing him to Corey Clement from the Super Bowl back in 2017. So definitely could see some Kenny Gainwell love going forward. All right, now we'll get into some more random bets here, a little more unique things. I'll start it off with Jalen Hurts to record 25 plus rushing yards in each half at plus 300. One thing I am worried about in this one, if the Eagles do win, and they're in like the position where he gets a few kneel downs at the end, that could hurt him. But he can do this with his speed and with his rushing ability in one run in both of the halves. I also expect him with hopefully a healthier shoulder off another week of rest and no need to really preserve it anymore. I think these past few weeks he might have been playing a little conservative. We didn't really see him take on contact that much, and he was sliding more, trying to save that shoulder. There's no real point of doing that anymore. After this, you have 7 months till your next football game. Plenty of time to rest up and get healthy, whatever the injury actually is. We don't really know, I think, fully whatever he was diagnosed with. And especially if the Chiefs continue to blitz a lot, Hurts is very good when he's getting that pressure, just flushing out of the pocket. And then if they're in man coverage on the sideline and their backs are turned, he's just going to tuck and run. I could easily see him getting 25 yards on one carry, and he just needs 25 plus in each half at plus 300. And if you like that, I think taking his over, I believe right now is at 49.5 too. You could take all three of those, and that would be, or both his 25 plus in each half as well as his over rushing for the game. I think both of those have a pretty good chance to hit.
All right, so my first one is kind of just a fun one. Will there be a scoregami? Yes, plus 1,800. I mean, how can you not root for a scoregami? That's my only reasoning for that one. It's just fun. I mean, if you go to bed and all your bets lose and scoregami hits, I mean, you can go to bed pretty happy, I think. So.
My first one I'm going with is Jake Elliott under 7.5 kicking points at -138. I don't think Nick Sirianni's going to settle for a ton of field goals in this one, and I think most of Jake's points are going to come on extra points.
All right, here is my official beef up front vision play. I had the vision play last year in the Super Bowl. My prediction was first play from scrimmage was going to be Cam Akers to the left of Matt Stafford, and it was going to be a little pass out in the flat. The first play was a handoff, but the second play was Cam Akers to Matt Stafford's right, and he ran like a little angle route, and he caught it and first reception, and we all went nuts. I was pretty crazy. This year, I was sitting at my desk at work today, and I saw it. The Eagles are going to get the ball, or I don't know if the Eagles get the ball first or not, but this is just first reception on the Eagles. They're going to be moving from right to left. A.J. Brown is going to be split out right in the shotgun, single man on his own side, and he's going to get the first reception for the Eagles at plus 240. I can see it now. Brown lined up wide, runs a little slant, and Jalen hits him for a 7-yard gain. I think they might follow the same formula as the Rams did last year and kind of handed off to Miles Sanders for the first play, maybe get a little 3-yard rush, and then A.J. Brown, the vision play, 7-yard slant for a first down for the Eagles on their second play from scrimmage. But we just need at plus 240. We just need A.J. Brown, first reception. That's my vision play for the Super Bowl. I think I'm like 6-1 in vision plays all time. It's a pretty crazy stat. And I had that, or no, I might be 6-2. But I had the one where I had Jordan Akins, the backup tight end for the Texans, scoring, and then following week he scored. So I was just a week off on the vision on that one. But A.J. Brown, vision play, first reception for the Eagles.
It all started with Cam Akers last year. And I remember when the play happened, it looked like he's about to run to the flat. And I was like, there's no way he runs to the flat right now. Coyle predicts this. But I was like, all right, he still caught it, which is crazy. But all right, my second one. I just have either James. You probably find this on FanDuel. If you don't use FanDuel, I don't know how you're going to find this, but either James Bradbury or C.J. Gardner-Johnson to record 1+ interception at plus 300. I like the value here you get with this one. If the Eagles do pick off Mahomes, outside of Darius Slay, these are the next best ball hawks on the team. So I think just the value there at plus 300 is a pretty good bet there.
I am going with the Eagles to have more rushing and passing yards than the Chiefs at plus 490. Hopefully the Eagles are in control of the whole game, and without Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs offense is a little more not as explosive. They're still very good, obviously, but a little more methodical, so that might lead to less air yards and more time used up.
Luke, you want to throw in your bonus play?
My bonus play from my dream. So I had a dream that the Eagles played the Super Bowl inside of Xfinity Live. And now don't ask why, but in that dream, Kenny Gainwell scored the first touchdown. It was very vividly scored right up the gut. It was on like a draw. For some reason, they ran like a draw, like a halfback draw from like the 5-yard line. Like that was going to get the defense to bite, but it worked. So he scored. Bonus play. Plus, I think it's like plus 2,100 Kenny Gainwell. Yep, 2,100.
All right. Well, that is the betting segment. We'll now get into what everyone's here for. You guys kind of already alluded to your picks a little, but we'll just go into our entire game breakdown, our final score prediction, why you think it's going to happen, as well as the MVP pick. Which one of you two want to start it off?
You want to go, Kev?
Yeah. I'm going to roll Eagles 30, Chiefs 23, Eagles covering the 1.5, and the over of 50.5 hidden. Eagles win. The Chiefs never get blown out, but the Birds win a one-score game here about as comfortably as you can. I think the Eagles have been the best team in football all year. They've shown us all year who they are, and I believe them. I think the Eagles will be able to win the battle in the trenches on both sides of the ball. The offensive side, creating big holes in the running game, will open up the RPO and play action for Jalen to do his thing on the ground and through the air. And then the Eagles team rarely shoots themselves in the foot as well, so I anticipate them taking care of the ball here. No turnovers, nothing like that. And on the other side of the ball, the pass rush will affect Mahomes and even cause a turnover from him. I think another like Brandon Graham strip sack, maybe not Brandon Graham, but someone strip sack instead of an actual interception. The Chiefs do have every reason to be confident, though, because they do have Pat Mahomes. Him and Kelsey together is obviously very scary. for the Eagles defense. I am scared that Kelsey will be able to find all the soft spots in zone coverage like he always does. And the Chiefs running game will be able to exploit the Eagles' weakness. Hopefully Andy doesn't lean into it too much and just stays with the passing game. But overall, I'm pretty confident and think the Eagles can and will win.
MVP, Kev?
MVP, I'm going Jalen Hurts, plus 130. You can't really go wrong with taking the winning team QB.
Luke, what's your pick?
Well, I have Eagles 31, Chiefs 23. So Eagles minus 1.5 over 50.5. Not really sold on the over yet, but we'll see. I think I'm leaning more towards under, so that score will change. But God, I hope we're not in shambles on Monday. That's all I got to say. And then every day of our lives after that. So I can't really bring myself to bet or pick against the Eagles, obviously. But I do feel like this will be one of the better Super Bowls we're going to watch, at least in the past decade or so. If the Eagles can exploit this week's secondary, stop the run on defense, and make Mahomes uncomfortable, it will definitely give the Birds a great chance to win. A healthy Patrick Mahomes would mean the Chiefs' offense will be running on all cylinders, which is just really scary, especially with Andy coaching against his former team. But I give a lot of props to Howie Roseman and management of the Eagles this season. Just putting this team together and building this team to be successful, not just for now, but for the future as well. No matter the outcome, it's been a great season that's far exceeded all of my expectations. All I asked us to do this year was win a playoff game. And before the season, I was calling for Jalen's job. So he's more than locked with that job now. So, but if we lose, I'll still be in shambles, just like the rest of the Philadelphia fans out there who always expect a championship caliber team. But praying for the win, 31-23.
MVP?
I'll use Hurts. Jalen Hurts. Was it plus 130?
Yep.
Also, for those out there that want a sleeper, Reddick. I think he's plus 1,600. I saw him at. Sleeper MVP.
There was one other bonus play I wanted to throw in there as well. If you do think the Eagles are going to win, there's like a thing on FanDuel for the Eagles to have the Eagles defense have like the last touchdown plus 3,800, I believe it is. So if it's one of those things where like the Chiefs are just throwing it around, lateral in it, and one of the Eagles is able to pick it up and score plus 3,800, you hit that and you hit the Eagles winning the Super Bowl at like the same time, that would be a nice little payday. But
yeah,
oh man, there's going to be a special place in hell for me. But I'm taking the Chiefs to win this one. I'm taking them 27-23.
Emotional.
Chiefs plus 1.5, under 50.5. But I guess you could also say it's a good thing because whenever there's that clean sweep of picks, it always seems to go against that team. So maybe I'm just reversing our fortune there. But just Joe Kometz, thinking about you for this one, the pain, the misery, the suffering. When will it end with this franchise? This team will never give me anything nice. I'm just convinced of it. But no, this is for the Eagles, I think, coming into the year, if you would have told me that they would be in the Super Bowl, I had them go into the NFC title game. I was I think, bigger believer in them than most, but I would have considered it a major success for them to go to the Super Bowl, even if they fell short in that game. Now that they're here, obviously, you want them to win, come out on top. But with all the concerns and kind of stuff you were touching on, Luke, about Jalen Hurts coming into the year, for them to be in this position and look like they're now locked in with that guy going forward, I couldn't be more proud, I think, of the team for all that they've accomplished. And I think they're set up for some major success with him over the next decade. And by any means, I don't think, in especially a pretty weak NFC, I don't think this is the last we've seen of the Eagles and Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. I just don't think Sunday night's going to be their night. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And I don't think the Eagles have faced a top 5 current quarterback in the league all year. And I think they could come out a bit shell-shocked in this one. Just looking at some of the quarterbacks they faced, a banged-up Aaron Rodgers, who's playing with injured ribs. Trevor Lawrence at the beginning of the year, who's not a top 5 quarterback now, but he's, I think, definitely a top 10. But that was only 4 games into the year. He was still young and struggling. Kirk Cousins, Dak, they haven't had really, I think, anyone strike fear into them. In that game against the Packers, they gave up 33 points, and that was a combination of Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. This is by far the Eagles' biggest test of the season. And if we go back to last year, I know it's a different group, a different team than last year, but you look when they played all those elite high-level quarterbacks, when they played Patrick Mahomes last year, Justin Herbert, even Tom Brady, they just got destroyed in terms of completion percentage. Like there was a one game Herbert, I think, completed 80% of the passes. This year we've faced far less talented quarterbacks, and we've exploited on them. And I think that's what you have to do. I mean, you have to play the teams in front of you and who they're trotting out at quarterback. You have to take advantage of that. It's no fault of the Eagles that they've played some of these weaker teams, but the Eagles have also beat like a lot of good teams. Just the quarterback play hasn't been elite. And I think Mahomes, Andy, Travis Kelce, that's just such a tough trio to stop, especially coming off another week of rest. I do think it's going to be a very good football game like you guys, though. And I think back and forth, and the Eagles are going to be leading at some point in the fourth quarter. Just one of those things where Mahomes just has that extra juice right now, I think, on him than Hurts. I'm not going to say I could see Hurts passing him one day as the best quarterback in the league, but I could see these two guys being kind of the face of the league going forward. You throw Herbert in that mix. We know my thoughts on Josh Allen. I think he's overrated. Herbert, though, up in there as well. Jury's still out on him a little bit, but I'm very confident in Jalen Hurts going forward. And I do think he's going to go neck and neck and go head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes in this one. I just think Patrick Mahomes makes one too many plays late and kind of wills this Chiefs team to a win. I'm not going to say on a last-second play, but down the stretch, he's going to have the big play to make the difference in this one. So I think he gets his second Super Bowl title, and it causes us Philadelphia Eagles fans everywhere great pain. This was a really tough pick, I think, to make, and I could definitely – by the time kickoff comes around on Sunday night, I'm going to be saying the Eagles are going to be winning this game, but just for the time being, it was one of those things I didn't have my mind made up all week till like later this afternoon. But I'm just going to roll with the Chiefs, take them to cover, and the under of 50.5 there. So that'll do it for NFL Big Five games of the week, the 2022-23 season with the Super Bowl wrapping up here. Been a great season. Thanks, Kev, for all your help and contributions to the show. And thank you, Luke, for being the special guest on this final episode. Any last-second comments, guys, before we head out?
It was a great year, like always.
So it was a good year. Pleasure to be on again. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go Birds. Let's hope I'm wrong. And we will talk next season.
Go Birds.